Hello, everyone. Zelensky says that Trump should not bow out of the Ukraine-Russia talks, and I don't know why. I mean, he's being useless. What is the point anymore? He basically spent the whole year saying he could end this in 24 hours, and then he tried ending it, failed, and realizing that this is too complicated for him, he just said, no, not my problem anymore. Who needs him? Who needs an ally like that? I mean, paraphrasing a famous saying, with an ally like that, who needs enemies? So let him go. Let him leave the negotiations because this is ridiculous. Just because you tell somebody to start something immediately or stop something immediately doesn't mean that's going to happen. That is not how things like that work. And again, Putin says he's prepared for compromises, but we already know what his requirements are, and they're not acceptable, and there's not a trace of compromise in there. So, again, this is all just theater. 6 Ukrainian soldiers were killed when Russia unleashed a strike on a training exercise. Sorry, guys, Ukrainians. This was a legitimate target. This was a legitimate military target. So, do better hiding your soldiers and concealing your training exercises. These were not civilians, these were obviously engaged in military-related activities, so that constitutes a legitimate military target, just like I'm sure Ukraine would have struck Russian army center or Russian staging ground if there was a military exercise conducted there. So do better to camouflage these things, because they're watching. They know you're out there. Just do better. Former Vice President Dan Quayle spoke up and said he doesn't understand Trump's affinity for Putin. Really? Okay, so, first of all, the dude is the former vice president. So this is somebody who is not exactly new to world politics. Second, he voted for Trump 3 times. 3 times! And now you're questioning why Trump has an affinity for Putin? Really? Really, dude? Wow. Like, seriously. So, I mean, Dan Quayle comes from the era of American politics where politicians were still expected to be kind of smart and knowledgeable. So I think after voting for Trump 3 times and then asking a dumb question like that, he loses all his smart points. The Pope is trying, and I appreciate it, dude, but in order for there to be peace talks, there has to be a desire on both parts, on both sides, for actual peace. That is not the case. It doesn't matter if they negotiated in the middle of Vatican, in the finest hall in Vatican, or somewhere in the hut in Namibia. It doesn't matter. What matters is the intent, and right now, we know at least one party is not interested in peace. It's interested in capitulation of the other party. Not the same thing. It's a nice gesture on behalf of the Pope. I am hoping that, unlike his predecessor, he will take time to understand the situation and not start pushing for peace at any cost, because that is not acceptable. The Italian Prime Minister, Meloni, said that she discussed things with other European allies, and, they continue coordinating. And again, Zelensky basically said, Russia is just stalling for time. And I think the allies agree with him, because at this point it's kind of obvious. So, Marco Rubio says that Russia will present broad outlines for ceasefire. Again, there is every reason to believe that when that happens, Russia will present something that benefits Russia entirely and contains no concessions for Ukraine whatsoever. Meanwhile, the war continues. In addition to the military training group that was attacked, and again, I acknowledge that this was a legit military target, one civilian was killed and 13 injured in Russian attacks across the regions. So that continues. That hasn't gone away. The Institute of the Study of War released a statement, and I agree with it. So, if you're interested in the details on the ground in terms of what's going on with the war, where the front lines are, the gains and losses for both sides, Institute of the Study of War is one of the best places to go look. They have excellent analytics, they have excellent maps, so their material is generally top notch, and I used it several times when I wanted to share the details. But you can pop over to their website at any time and look. But here is what they said, and this is absolutely the necessary condition for any sort of negotiations to start. So they said Russia must explicitly acknowledge the legitimacy of the Ukrainian president, government, and constitution, and Ukraine's sovereignty in order to engage in meaningful, good faith negotiations. I agree with them. That would be an excellent start. It's not going to happen, but that would be a solid foundation for any kind of talks. Now, I think what needs to happen is Ukraine and allies should take this statement and present it to Russia. It's not going to do anything, but at least they would be on record. And get a clear understanding that unless those things happen, unless Russia explicitly acknowledges Ukraine as a sovereign state with the right for territorial integrity, unless Russia acknowledges explicitly, clearly, loudly the legitimacy of the Ukrainian government and the wishes of Ukrainian people that were expressed way back when the Soviet Union fell apart, unless that happens, it's a waste of time, and it's not worth for people to come into the table. And the last but not the least, it's the acknowledgement of Russia as a global threat. We are already seeing ripple effect from this war all over the globe. As far as Africa, as far as China, as far as India, as far as Australia. This is happening. What we have all warned you about, that this is going to go beyond Ukraine, it's already happening. So it should be treated as such, and it should be responded to as such. More to come.